Hello, 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 hello. This is Willie Cartwright and Taisha Essick with Willie from Save to Sane. Thank you guys for being with us today. I'm still trying to get everything going. Let's see if I can get my comment section. Oh, we should be good with the comment section. I don't know what happened with that, but that's good. Oh, I think I closed it out. All right. Let's get it right. Okay. Um, so glad to have you guys with us. Those of you who are with us today. I think we have a really great topic today, and that topic is free will. Talk about free will. But before we get started, you guys know how we do it, how I operate. First of all, those of you who've never seen me without a hat on, I decided not to wear a hat today because without the hat, it seems that my head is shining enough to give more light until I can get my lighting
Reflecting.
situation. And so I guess it's reflecting. Now you're able to see me more because it's kind of like I was in the dark. So I think there is a little bit more light because I don't have the hat on. But so that's why I don't have the hat on. So those of you who join us, like, is that the same person? Yeah, it's the same person, just without the hat. So again, until we get our lighting situation better, and I kind of upgrade with a lot of things, but got so many things going on right now. But eventually we'll upgrade and we'll be all bright and shiny like Taisha. You can see her
Oh my goodness.
glow and everything. So we'll do that. But as I always do, let me start off by thanking two very important, wonderful people. First, Taisha, as usual, thank her
Thank
so much
you.
for being with us today. I wasn't sure she was going to be able to join us, but I'm excited that she's here. But also, I always thank her for everything that she's doing and everything she's done. She
Welcome.
just gave me a tip just before we came on that we will incorporate that at some point as well. I have to learn all of these techniques that she's teaching me, but she's very instrumental in me being here and continuing with this platform. So I am indeed grateful to her and to have her on and her tremendous input. And as I tell you guys all the time, make sure you follow her on all of her platforms and please support this wonderful, wonderful
Thank you.
sister. She's doing some amazing things, a few different things now that she is with child. So she's doing some stuff on her platform regarding that. That is way out of my lane. If she want to talk about that, she can. If you want to talk a little bit about that before we get started, that's fine. You
So
want
say
to do that?
greetings everybody. I'm Taisha Essex and oh my gosh, my channel, yeah, you go over there. It's like a hodgepodge of a little bit of everything. I think now we can call it a lifestyle channel. So you'll see everything from self-defense to vlogs to reviews to cooking. Now I'm talking about my maternity journey and yeah, it's just oh my gosh, a lot going on. So it's like how the spirit moves me. I'm playing. Not like this great channel here that has a niche. I'm like all over the place, but yeah, it's lifestyle, and I just want to show y'all a black woman that mainstream media would never show. You won't find me over there twerking, acting silly or nothing. Actually, I do have one twerking video, and that's when I did my short film They Evil. I tried to do, I guess you can call it, but I tried. But that's about it. But I'm happy to be here. But most notably, I'm known for my videos on why I left Christianity, why I left the church. And when I get into a mood, I just bang on the church because it gets on my nerves. And there's a lot of foolishness that should be called out. So, like I said, the black woman that's not shown to you on mainstream media, that's what I do. So I'm happy to be here.
I think that's perfect. A perfect name for your channel is the Lifestyle Channel.
Hmm.
So I think that's because you are touching on a lot of different things. So I think
Right.
that's great. So yeah, so we're happy to have you here. And before I go any further,
Mr.
uh,
Short Stroke.
no, we
Love you
are
so much.
no, we are glad
Mama
to.
Sharon and Christine.
Oh yeah, who we got here?
I love seeing that name come
Christine.
up.
What's the name? Oh, Mr. Short. Okay, Mr. Short Stroke. Glad to have you. I don't know if it's your first time, but I would have remembered that name. So I'm
You will
guessing I'm
now.
guessing that this is your first time. So glad to have you here. I might just call you Mister because that's how I don't. That's how I operate. So let me just call you
How my
Mister.
son says, if you say something like that, you have to say pause and then you move on. That's what my son says. I say pause.
So I'm just gonna call you Mister. But glad to have you, Sharon. Always glad to have you. I know you out there in Arizona. Christina, glad to have you as well. The second person that I always have to thank you to is my wonderful, wonderful, supportive wife. She's behind the scene pulling all the strings. She's working, with our first business actually, but she's very supportive of me in this endeavor. I'm very thankful to her for everything that she does and will be doing. So between her and Taisha, I'm sitting here in front of you every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. Speaking of, I think I mentioned last week to you guys that this program would be going instead of every week. Now it would be every other week. So we won't be here next week. We'll be here the week after next, and that is because I'm doing some other things related to this topic, to this subject matter, religion. I'm doing some stuff with in school, doing some research assistant, but I'm working on a master's degree on this very topic. So this is a real thing for us here. This is what we will be doing for a long time to come. I actually purchased my books today. I go downtown to Georgia State and purchase the books, but we have orientation tomorrow. So I wanted to kind of skip next week because it's the first week of school, and I need to kind of see how things flow. Because as well as going to class, I will be a research assistant for a couple of professors. So I need to know how that's going to work the first week, and so we can do that. And I think we may have to move the time back an hour, maybe to 6 o'clock, just to give them enough time to get everything done. But we'll definitely let you know. You'll see the next scheduled podcast, and it'll have it'll have either 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I say that because I know Sharon is out in Arizona, so we have to make sure that she can join us. But yeah, so that's what's going on. Yeah, so school starts next Monday. And I have orientation tomorrow. Thank you, Sharon. So we're excited about that. But today, we have a really, really interesting topic. And I'll be quite candid with this topic. This is one of the topics that I kind of wanted to either avoid for a period of time or get to a little later. But we had a person on last week called the Dude. It's like the Dude, but he suggested that we do free will, and that is a important foundational piece in religion. And so I said, well, let me just jump into it. So today we're going to talk about free will, and I would be honored and happy and in need of all of you guys' input on this whole free will thing, because it kind of has me kind of all over the place, right? And so we're going to talk about that. Again, this is a platform that we learn from each other. I don't know everything. Taisha doesn't know everything. You guys don't think. But together, I think we can learn from each other. We're all still learning. The minute you think you know everything, then it's all over for you, because we never know everything. Right. As a matter of fact, those of you who enjoy learning, you understand that the more you learn, the more you realize there's so much more to learn. Right. So free will is one of those things that I really wanted to talk about, but I wanted to do it in the right way, and I wanted to get input from you guys. And so we wanted to have a discussion about that. But before we get into the whole free will thing, I wanted to, as I did last week, and as I said we were going to start trying to do, is kind of incorporate some current events, some things that happened on social media over the week. And so today, one of the things that how I want to start today is those of you who are Beyonce fans. My wife is a Beyonce fan, and full disclosure, I am not a Beyonce fan by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, the Beehive be a channel.
I know, right? The Beehive, they're going to come after me. I do think that she's a very talented artist, but it's just not my type of music. So that's fine, cool. But she recently released an album, and the other day I heard a pastor going after her and the music, and it brought to mind that this is something I wanted to address, not only with just Beyonce, but with other secular artists out there. That it seems to me that the church, and not all churches, but some churches and some ministers, spend a whole lot of time going after secular artists, and what I mean by that, it seems that whenever to me, it seems that when our artists, when I say our, I mean for the most part African American artists or artists that
Mhm.
make black music, whenever they reach a certain level, it seems that our churches tend to say something that, oh, they're demonic, or they're part of the Illuminati, or their music is demonic, or they're ruining our kids. Whether it be now, there are some practical things within our hip hop culture
Mhm.
that is detrimental to our community as far as the music go. I would never say that that's not the case. I grew up. I enjoyed NWA. I was an NWA fan in my late teens, early 20s, and my mother would she never listened to NWA. So I understand that. So I'm not the old person that's saying, talking about the music, but what I am saying is that it seems to me that the church and ministers, they pull stuff out of the air. It's this, she's demonic. Look at her. She's representing the four horses in Revelations. I mean, we're reaching and we're pulling for something, and it sounds idiotic to me that
Right.
you take some music and you read into it what you want to read into it. And I've heard this done not only with Beyonce music, I've heard this done with uh, Jay-Z's music. I've heard this done even all the way back to, I've heard this done with Michael Jackson music. I've heard this done about Prince's music and many other artists, especially coming from us. And it is something that I said I wanted to kind of bring to you guys and get you guys kind of opinion on why is it that we seem to attack. And there's one thing with Beyonce, I think what makes it a little worse for the church people is that she has a song on her album. I think it's called Church Girl,
Mhm.
and it's done with the Clark sisters, who I think is in a gospel group or
Mhm.
whatever. And so
Yeah.
I think that they're really upset about that as part of it as well. But this particular minister, I don't even know his name, but he did this whole sermon about how horrible the music was and how demonic it was, how it was leading our kids astray, and how we shouldn't be listening to it. And she's, all the stuff she's doing, regarding the Bible. And on top of that, from a personal standpoint, um, my wife and I have family members that's part of this um, uh, phone text messaging, right? And it kind of sends out messages about the family, what's going on. And
Mhm.
there's some extended family members who are on this kick as well. I mean, they're out of the blue, they're texting on the messages about how demonic Beyonce's music is. And I'm like, we're like, where did this come from? Why? And it's it's this whole pious thing, this whole we holier than now, and we can't, and this music is and some of these same people, when they were secular or listening to music or back in their day,
Mhm.
were you can imagine how wild and out of control some of their behavior was. And so I always say, whenever you find people who are so extremely devout on the church side, look at their past when they were not in the church, and you better believe that they were out of control. I'm not telling you what I've heard. I'm telling you what I witnessed from a
Mhm.
very, very close family member who I know went from one to the other. And I've seen this with other people. So it's just something that I wanted to kind of throw out there before we really got into this whole free
Mhm.
will thing. See if I have any comments. Taisha said free will. Sharon said she's talented. She just feels phony to me. Oh well, I'm just not a fan. I think she's a great
Mhm.
artist. It's just not my type of music. I think I told you guys before. My wife laughs at me because I really only listen to 80s and
Mhm.
90s and maybe early 2000 music. That's it.
That's it.
I mean, you could give me 90s all day and I would never have to listen to anything else but 90s. That's just my era. I was in my 20s. Yeah, I was in my 20s. I love that time. It was just wonderful for me. Awesome. I just love that music. Anything else after that, I'm just not, and my wife listens to everything. So I
Mhm.
hear, she listens to underground music, she listens to country music, she listens to stuff that, she listens to everything, all of it.
Right. Very
Um,
eclectic.
yeah, so yeah, very eclectic with her music choice. But OG Geezer said, "Else greetings to the both of and chat family. Saw the video. What is that? Gross. Uh, I don't know what that means. He saw the video. Oh, you're saying Beyonce's video. Is that what you're saying? OG, that her video is gross. If you are, let us know what do you mean by gross. I don't. Um, I'm not sure which video because I haven't seen it about the video, but I would love that. Would be a great discussion. So let us know what you mean by gross and how's the video gross, and maybe we can discuss that as well. Mister
Pause.
Oh, you said Black folks are going through the process of cultural maturity.
Good.
Boogeyman theology did its job for the time. It was meant we must now mature out of what is that?
Pavlovian theology.
Pavlovian theology. You know what? You said that better than I could, and that's something that I was going to. I forget. I was trying to. That's the direction I was trying to go in. We have this thing in our community where we are afraid of everything, and everything that we deem not to be of the Bible or wasn't exactly written in the Bible, we think that it's anti-Bible or anti-Christ or demonic, and so we become afraid of it. Everything from music, everything from you name it. I've had discussions with family members who said that certain successful Black entertainers or artists are successful because they become part of the Illuminati. And I've said to them, why can't it just be that they worked hard and it was intelligent and invested and did the right thing like everyone else?
Mm-hmm.
I said, but you don't say this about non-Black people. It's only about us because we have this fear thing in our head that it's not for us. And this goes back to us becoming part of this religion, this faith being indoctrinated, and this faith telling us from childhood that we're nothing and that we're worthless and that we're nothing without God. So if we become something successful, right, and it's not through the church, then somehow it must be wrong or demonic because God didn't ordain that success. And Mr. said it correctly. This whole fear thing, we need to mature out of that. We need to, and if you ask me for, reason 1,037,000 why we shouldn't be part of this faith, that's another reason. Is because of the whole fear thing that it does to us, and it provides, it creates fear with us with every single thing. I think I told a story months ago about a lady who we used to go to church with, and we used to go to her house just back in the day, and we would have these Bible studies, I guess. And one day she sat down and she started eating nuts. She ate like the whole bag, and she was like, "Oh my God, I ate too many nuts. That's not godly." And it's just and she was serious. And my mother-in-law was there, who is extremely devout. And my mother-in-law looked over at me, and I looked at her, and we kind of think alike on some things. And afterwards, she just said, that's too much. That's just too extreme. And
Right.
so a lot of our people have that fear of everything. We're fearful of every single thing. And then we read into stuff that's not there. So we create conspiracies. Beyonce she posed in front of a black horse, and then a tan horse, and then a white horse, and then a orange horse. Oh my God, that's the 4 horses of the apocalypse. That's Revelations. And this is exactly what people are saying and doing. I mean, it is just that whole fear-based thing that's just really it's just really out of hand with our people. Taisha, you got anything on that?
Oh my gosh, where do we start? That is a lot. Now, let me ponder. Where do we start? OMG. How I feel about secular artists when they make a gospel song or something like that, I'd label it as evergreen content. Like here on YouTube, there's if you never heard of evergreen content, once you monetize your channel, stuff like that, you put out a video that never goes out of style. If you put up a video how to tie your shoes, that video is going to always is not going to go out of style. It's not seasonal. And I think when secular artists per se make a gospel song, that's evergreen content for them. because you'll have people that want to cover it and, sing it at their funeral or sing it at their wedding, or, go audition. And that's like the Jacksons. The Jacksons, the family was Jehovah Witnesses, but they got
Mhm.
one of the best timeless Christmas albums ever. So I recall a quote by Patti LaBelle. She says, "I am a secular artist. I just happen to do gospel music from time to time, but I am a secular artist." And that ties into the video that we did earlier this year on the worst gospel songs. And we talked about how, the church was our first stage, where gospel music started, and then from there you get, talent discovered, and we forever changed American music. So, the church always has that credit for us. But there was a series. I was one of those people that were like, "Oh, this is the Illuminati, this is evil, this is that." There was this if you look for it here on YouTube, there's this pastor. I think his name is Craig Lewis, and he has this series called The Truth Behind Hip Hop.
Mhm.
And I had a friend, she was a holy hoe. We had did a video on that on my channel. But she got me into, I'm like, watch, I'm like, oh my gosh, this really is, they making lyrics about that. They're throwing up this sign. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I was really into that. I was out there. But yeah, the church wants to keep you in a constant state of fear, because that's where the membership comes from. That keeps you coming back. And like Mr. Short Stroke Thirst said, we have this Pavlovian mindset in theology. That's exactly what it is. That's how the doors stay open. And that's perfect, because it segues us right into your topic today with free will.
Mhm.
If I want to sing a gospel song today, I can sing a rock and roll song tomorrow. I'll do a country song after that, but it's supposed to be free will, right? So there's no punishment behind it or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, so perfect. Perfect. Between you and Mr. You guys hit it perfect. So that makes a whole lot of sense. And as you said, that kind of goes right into the main topic of the day, which is free will. And so when we think about free will, and I've always thought about free will, this is free will is a go-to argument for Christians when they're debating non-believers. This is one of their go-to arguments before they eventually just kind of throw in the towel and say, well, God is God, he can do whatever he want to do. This is one of because they think that this is a winning argument when they say it's the free will. So let's begin by kind of trying to define, at least biblically, what free will is. And it's pretty much as it sounds, is humanity's a human's ability to choose their actions, right? Um, and there's a lot to go into that, but the reason why it is important is because for Christians, it is their excuse for why this all-loving, all-powerful, all-knowing God does not stop suffering. It is their go-to reason as to why this powerful, all loving God who loves you supposedly more than you love yourself, more than your parents love you, it is the reason when you ask them, well, why doesn't God stop suffering? Why doesn't God stop the rape of innocent kids or innocent women, or or the murder of innocent people? And their response is, well, God gives us all free will. And so what they're saying is that because humanity will act the way they want to act, you don't want God to take away our free will. You don't want God to make us just robots and doing what he wants us to do. And so this is important that we as a community of non-believers, whether we are questioning our faith or whether we are full-blown atheists, is important that we're able to understand what they mean by free will, and then ask the question, is this a relevant response to the question that's asked as to why God won't stop suffering? Because that's one thing that we never really address. We kind of hear their answer as, well, free will, and then we go into debating whether or not we have free will. The first thing I think we should do is to ask ourselves, well, even if it is free will, even if we do have free will, Is that a relevant answer to why God wouldn't stop suffering? And so the reason why I said it is because if free will is about man choosing to make their own decisions, but yet the religious people, believers, Christians pray for a particular outcome from their God, which will include their God intervening and changing, theoretically, the direction of something for their benefit or their favor. Is that really someone having free choice?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to ask ourselves, is that a relevant answer to the question? Um, and then there's also another part of it as well. If suffering, if your God says that, okay, I want you guys to have free will, therefore I'm not going to interfere with what man does, even if man harms other men. And I use that in a general term. Even if human beings harm other human beings, because of this free will, and I don't want to make you guys robots, I have to let you do that. I have to let the results play out. Well, what about the suffering that's caused by natural disasters? That's not a reflection of why we have free will. So let's back up to the very beginning. The reason why there is free will supposedly is because Adam and Eve sinned. Now y'all play along with me because we're assuming, we're playing like this whole Adam and Eve story is real, right? So play along with me with that. But because Adam and Eve sinned and did what they weren't supposed to do, which is, that's a whole nother discussion, but eat from the tree of knowledge. And because of that, they became knowledgeable. Therefore, God said, well, you're on your own, this free will thing has to happen, right? You need to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. So fast forward, now we ask the question, because one of the things I always ask believers is, okay, if there is a God, an all-loving God, why do we still have suffering the way that we do? And then again, their answer becomes, well, free will. You don't want God to take away your free will. You don't want God to make you a robot. You don't want God to have you, doing what he wants you to do all the time. You should have the free will. But when it comes to natural disasters, if there's a famine, if they're starving caused by a famine, which is a natural disaster, what does that have to do with the free will of human beings? With the exception of maybe as a human being, as a human species, we can do more to help those individuals. But what does that have to do with the actual cause of it? That's a question when we talk about free will. Is there really free will? And to me, the answer is not yes, no, there's free will. The question is really, what does that have to do with, if there is a God, what does that have to do with him fixing suffering? Because if you believe that you have free will, if you're a Christian or you're a believer and you believe that in free will, then why do you pray? Let things fall the way they're gonna fall. Why do you pray to God to have your manager change his mind about giving you a week off of work or giving you a raise? That's not free will. Let it. And so one of the other things that when I have a discussion with people about free will, I always use this analogy about free will. So they say, well, free will is, you choose to do what you want to choose, and then you deal with the consequences. That comes up a lot when we talk about going to hell. Well, you can choose not to believe, but then you got to suffer the consequences, right? Well, there are natural consequences, and there are consequences that are created by the person that's inflicting the damage, right? And that's important because those are two different things. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have a daughter, and I don't, but I have a niece, but she's older now. But let's say at the time, let's say I have a daughter, and let's say she's 16, and she says to me, Dad, I want to go to this party at this house, and I know this person. And I'm saying to her, I said, honey, I really don't want you to go because anything can happen. I don't trust this young man. I know he's around gangbangers, and I've heard stories of him dealing drugs, and I really don't want you to go. I said, but you know what? I'm your father, but I give you free will so you can go, right? That this may happen. You might get in trouble. You might get involved in drugs. There might be a car accident on your way there or your way back home. A number of things could happen, but you can go ahead and go. It's up to you. Your free will, up to you. She decides to go, and then she comes back, nothing happened. That's true free will. Let's say, same scenario, she asked me, and I said, listen, I don't want you to go, all the same reasons, but you can go. However, if you go to this party, you don't have a room here in this house. You don't live here anymore. All of your stuff will be outside. Now, she still has free will, right? Or does she?
It's a threat behind it.
It's a threat behind it because now I've manufactured artificial consequences that influences her having free will. Mm-hmm. And so that's the same thing with God and hell. Yeah, you can choose not to believe in God, except this God has said, if you don't believe in me, if you don't worship me, I'm going to send you to hell for eternity and burn. So do we really have free will when it comes to believing or not believing? And so that's how I kind of look at it. Taisha, what do you have anything?
That makes absolute sense. Like I said, I'm here to learn because I'm not really like, I hear the free will thing thrown around and then I get it confused with like, okay, well, you have the free will, but you also have laws and you break that law, you go to court, you got to put your hand on the Bible and all that stuff. I'm like, it's just all intertwined. It was really confusing. So yeah, having it broken down in that sense, like, okay, well, if you don't believe in me, I'm going to punish you. If you do this, I want to punish you. So it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it's about time we figure that out and decode a lot of the code speech they have. Cause then you'll have like someone to say, well, thy will be done. Okay, well, if it's going to be done anyway, then I don't play a part in the decision-making or the outcome. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it makes no sense to even pray. And so you have a segment of believers who believe in that life is predestined, meaning God is already, so God has already set up things, how it's going to happen, but if we go back even further, almost all Christians believe that this God that they've served is a all-knowing God. If he's a all-knowing God, then that means obviously he knows what's going to happen. So you can't have free will with this God if it's already predestined, if he already knows what's going to happen. Now you'll get pushback from believers. I know I'm going to get some messages on this video with people pushing back saying, well, you do have free will because you can do whatever you want to do. But if it's already predestined and if God knows what you're going to do, then that means that it's already laid out. And so you don't have the choice to go the opposite direction because that would mean that he doesn't know. But then somebody said, well, he know that you're going to change your mind. Well, that means that he know that you're going to pick path B. So that means you can't change. So here's an easier example of that will head off some of the emails that I'm going to get on this video. Let's go to this Bible that you guys read, and let's go to one of the foundational story. This is the foundational story of the Bible because the Bible is really about telling us about this coming of the Messiah, and in the New Testament is about the story of the Messiah being Jesus. So in the resurrection story, prior to God being crucified, he was betrayed by Judas for how many ever pieces of silver and gold or whatever. Here's a question. Did Judas have a choice? Did Judas have free will as to whether or not he was going to betray God? Because if you say that he did, then that's not true. Because if Judas doesn't betray God, we're not having this conversation. We're not on this platform. Because if Judas doesn't betray God, then God is not crucified by Romans and Pilate, all of that. None of that happens. So this was predestined by God and Jesus. They knew that this was going. I think even in the scriptures, Jesus said something to the effect of he already knew that he was going to be betrayed, and he knew who was going to be the person that betrayed him. Right. So there was no free will with this thing with Judas. So again, do we have free will? Now the whole free will conversation is just an interesting conversation. But what's more important, as I said before, is the relevancy to it as far as God and suffering and the existence of this God or whatever, which is at the end of the day, which is really what this platform is all about. Right. But I thought that free will is a very interesting topic. And let me read some of the comments going all the way back up. What did I miss? Where did I go? Stop at? We've had quite.
I think you left off at Christine, the several definitions of free will, or no, it could have been higher at TLX.
Yeah, because TLX is.
It's TLX because the previous comment was about the video.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
OG, I got you on the church video is awful. I didn't see the video, but I'll have to take a look at it. So maybe that's something we can discuss too a little bit. But you can also chime in and let us know what you mean by awful. TLX, good to have you. Let's see. You said, I don't believe in free will. Did Mary Magdalene have free will? No, she didn't. You know what? Let me stop right there. Till that was one. So it was two things I was going to bring up. One was the Judas story, and then the other was Mary had birthing, Jesus, right? As part of my research, what I discovered about that whole thing is that there is a belief out there in the interpretation of the scriptures that people would argue. When I say people, I mean believers that will argue with you that the angel Gabriel notified Mary first, notified her that God wanted her to have this child. And I didn't see anywhere where he asked, do you want to do this or not? But
no choice.
In the interpretation of these scriptures and the pushback that you will get, Till, is that these people would tell you that Mary was notified first, and then she decided that, yes, that's fine, I will have this child. We can argue, and I think we can do a great job of arguing that is ludicrous, right? From the standpoint of, number one, this is a child. I don't care what time frame we're in. If the biblical history tells us that Mary was between the ages of 12 and 14. That's number one. Number two, if you are a believer, and especially we're talking 2,000, 2,500, we're talking 2,000 years ago. You are a 12-year-old child and you believe that your God is telling you that you're going to have my son. There is no saying no to that. That is worse than your boss. No, that is worse than the owner of your company telling you that you will bring liquor to this party tonight. What are you going to say? I have free will. I guess I couldn't. Oh, well, you can get fired. Well, What's worse than being fired if you're married and God is talking to you? If you're married, what are you thinking? How do you say no to God? So I am 100% with you, Till, on this. I didn't want to bring it up, but I'm glad that you did.
Yes.
Because when I did my research, I was like, this can go either way. We can get a whole lot of pushback because I've always thought that Mary did not have say-so in this. And so my first thought was that even before she was told, I thought that my understanding is that she was already pregnant. And then Gabriel said, this is, she was notified that she was going to have Jesus, God's son. Regardless of how you look at it, it's still a child being told by God that this is going to happen. And basically, what else are you going to say?
Right.
So I think that is a great point, Till. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's see. Christina said the church is a parasite. It feeds on the unlearned victims. Once they disconnect from it, they no longer feed off of you. All you got to do any research you want to do. Look up, do the research, and generally speaking, the more educated, the more informed a people are, the less they attend church. Taisha said it earlier. Church needs people who are suffering. Church need people who are afraid, who are fearful. That's who they feed on. That's their market. They need people who are suffering and who are fearful. So they teach you about this damnation of hell as a child to terrify
The
you.
414 window to
Which
get
is
you
exactly,
when
which
you're
is
young.
child abuse. And so now you're terrified. So you got to go to church. You got to, because you're going to go burn in hell. And then they tell you that, you know, only God and Jesus and the church can solve your physical, your objective, the problems, the physical problems that you have, whether it be sickness, whether it be poverty, whether it be. But here's the thing: when you learn more and you learn that hell and heaven, the biblical hell and heaven doesn't exist, right? When you become financially successful to the point where you're fine, you can take care of your bills. When you learn how to eat better and take care of your body better and become more healthier, right? Then you decide, well, wait a minute, I don't, you know, only reason why I'm going to church now is because the music sounds great. You know, and I got some friends there. But all this other stuff, this old woe is me, I'm miserable, you know, my life is horrible, it's nothing without God. You start to kind of pull away from that. And that is scientifically proven. That has been scientifically proven. And so you're absolutely right, Christina. Thank you for that. You also said you have several definitions of free will, the Bible and dictionary, etc. Absolutely. And again, doing the research for this, I came across several definitions, and initially I said that this is the biblical one because I wanted to try to keep it biblical. But basically, I think we kind of covered it. So appreciate that. Question everything. Absolutely. That is the premise of this platform. That is the premise of this podcast. That is the purpose of this podcast, is to teach us to question everything. And I said this before, and I will always say this: for African Americans, if we can begin with us questioning our faith, right? Because that's the only thing that we don't question. I mean, we will question everything down to the very end, except our belief system, except our faith. So if we can get us to question our faith, then we can, without a doubt, teach us to question everything else and become critical thinkers about every single thing, every element of our life, which is important. But let's begin with, that's why this platform was set up, is so that we can kind of teach our people to have critical thinking about the one thing that we deem as the most important thing, but it is also the one thing that we do the least amount of critical thought about. We're born, our parents, the church, or the neighborhood, or the community opens up our heads figuratively and pours in the Bible and the things that they want us to know. And then we regurgitate that information to those around us. And it happens generation after generation after generation. And that's why we're in the condition that we're in right now, at least part of the reason why. And that's what happens to us. So if we can think critical about religion, then we can think critically about politics and our money and relationships and every other element of our being. And so that's why we're here. So appreciate that. Mr. Paul, I think the answer is simple. Answer the question from the perspective of the maker. Suffering is a human concept. So so are disasters. He had what's that? He would care no more for your problems than you care for the problems of. What was I didn't see the rest of that. Totally agree. On a larger scale, on a grand scale of things, because if you think like me, I don't believe that this so-called God or whatever even exists. So as I've always said, and I try to teach my people, everything is about cause and effect. It is what you do. It is how you think. It is how you operate. No one is going to save us but us. So if we don't care about an issue, no one else is going to care. There's no one is going to come down to save us. So it's really all about us and what we do. So I totally agree with you, Mr. on that. Thank you, Christine. We all trying to teach each other here. Mr. Pause again. The flowers in your garden are a cake you bake. You just do it.
I think that was a continuation from the above comment. Continuation.
You care for the problems of, and then it said the flowers in your garden or a cake you bake. You just do it because you can. Thank you for that. Agree with that. OG, say the free will argument is a little weak because it's Judas' is free will to betray. Is it Jesus' free will to be betrayed? I think he's supposed to say be betrayed. Yeah, we covered that with the whole Judas thing. I think that's a great. Those of you who get into a discussion with a believer about free will, please feel free to use that. I didn't create that. I didn't come up with that. I'm sure other people have used it before, but I think that's a good argument. And I would love to hear what their pushback would be on that. Because I don't, I am 100% sure that, if this story was real, Judas he did not have free will in this. He didn't, because without Judas, you don't have a story. You don't have a crucifixion. I mean, you don't have a crucifixion. You don't have a resurrection. You don't have a second coming. You don't have a
story ends.
Story ends. It's just like, it's just like if somebody ever, if the coyote ever caught the road runner, story ends. So that's where we are with that. Christine, again, thank you. I never read that free will was a forced. We will especially in Mary's case, raped by the Holy Ghost. Now, at the end of the day, that is the point that Christians miss. This child was raped. You can say, I don't care what you want to say. I don't care if it's the Holy Spirit, a spirit, a ghost, God, whatever. This child was impregnated and she didn't consent to it. This was a spiritual, a supernatural rape. And I said, and I don't have a problem with saying that. People call it blasphemy, or they can be mad and upset. I'm sure I'm going to get comments about that, but it is what it is. She was raped by the Holy Spirit. How else do you get pregnant without sex? And if you don't consent, or if you're not of the age to consent, it's all rape.
Indecent liberties with a minor.
Exactly. So you were absolutely right. OG, you said abortion is free will for the mother, but it is free will to the fetus. Free will is weak. That's a different way to look at it as well. Except my only pushback on that, OG, is if the fetus is not a person, then there's no free will argument, because we're not talking about a person. And now you have to, from a scientific standpoint, decide what point do you consider that person a person, that fetus a person. Now, here's my standpoint on that, only because we brought this up, and my wonderful co-host is with child. This is what I always say.
Georgia says that your unborn is dependent.
Yeah, that's what Georgia say. I am pro-choice. Pro-choice does not mean pro-abortion. I am pro-choice because I have no business telling Taisha what she should do with her body at any point, any stage, any place, wherever. That's between her, the father, her child, and whoever else you want to include, right? And so if I'm a senator or representative in Congress or whatever, it is not and this is my opinion. So I am pro-choice. I believe a woman should have that right, her and whoever helped her make that child. That's how I stand on that. So, but that's a whole different argument on that. But I always want to make myself clear about stuff. Sharon, let's see. It's like nowadays, the illusion of free will. Real free will can get you killed, not healed. That's a point. That's a point.
Yes, if you have the will to go follow, how parents say you have will to go follow your friends and jump off the building, you have free will, but there's the consequences.
Sharon said the HOV lane. Let's see. Where did we start? Sharon. Okay, Sharon said some pastors didn't like me questioning. They told my mom that I had a demonic spirit. Again, who was that we talked about the whole fear thing? Oh, Mister. Again, that's part of the whole fear thing. That's how they're able to get us to not ask questions. That's how they're able to continue to control us by making everything that 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 either they can't answer or that they don't want to answer or they don't have an answer to, they make all of those, they put all those questions in the demonic basket. Okay, this is demonic. It's not demonic, it's just you can't answer the question, or the reason the question, you're afraid of the question because the question
Mhm.
makes so much sense and you don't
Right.
have enough logic to think through it. So that was a trick that was used on all of us. Any of us that was kids. I mean, I knew stuff that I could ask. I just knew off the top because my mother wasn't hearing that. If it was anything that I, you
Mhm.
know, I mean, I remember. You remember the episode of Good Times where Florida had the white Jesus on the wall and Michael
Yep.
questioned that. I, I pulled one of those with my mother, and she lost her mind. My mother lost her mind. She had a white Jesus up on the wall, and I was in college. Though. I was a little bit old. I was in college. So at this point, I had become militant. I come home and I noticed for the first time. This picture been up for 18 years in our house, but for the first time after I got to college and became militant, I come home and I see the white Jesus, and I mentioned to my mother, "Why we got a white Jesus up there?" And my mother lost her mind. Well, she wanted to knock me out and she almost did. But again, it was that you don't question this.
And if you do, I've heard smart aleck
You're
or
smart aleck,
all that.
you demonic, the
Right.
devil is using you,
Disrespectful.
you disrespectful,
Gotta beat
all of
this
that.
out of you, all that. It's
Yeah,
like, no,
all of
you're
that.
asking like you teach children. Like, I love children because they'll tell you the truth. They said children and drunk people
Children and
would
drunk
tell the
and
truth.
and old people.
Yeah,
Even the
old
old
people
people.
just don't get.
They don't care what they said. They'll tell you.
I think I'm getting there in life, and I'm like, okay, because I'm like, this don't make any sense. I'm like, I can't bite my tongue, it hurts. But little kids that tell you you look like a clown if you have on a pink wig,
Yeah, they
you smell
will.
like this, you something. So you always want to encourage them, their logic. And I think that's when we become handicapped, when that gets shut down.
Yeah. And I think that should have been one of those questions that the entire community should have been asking because
Mhm,
uh anywhere you go in the world, everybody's God looks like them
mhm, but ours.
except us. Now we may have evolved, and I use that term lightly, loosely. We may have evolved as Black believers to now, we believe that God and Jesus was of color or whatever, whatever, whatever. It still don't make it real,
No.
but some of us have evolved to that level. We think that's called evolved. We think we've evolved, but there's still many of us who will sit up in a church, or who we even have they still have pictures of a white Jesus or a white God in their house, or they will sit up in a church, part of the congregation, and they will see images and pictures of a white God or a white Jesus that their pastors put up, and they won't question it, or it won't even bother them. Or like I've had older Black people to literally argue with me and tell me it don't make a difference.
But they still have it up though.
I
So if
said,
it doesn't make a difference, why do you
that's
have it? Why are you
that's
defending it?
exactly what I say. Because what I say is, if it didn't make a difference, then he wouldn't be white.
Because I've had that happen. I made a Happy Sunday Saints post on Facebook, and I had some people they'll get upset like, why are you posting this? This is disrespectful. I'm like, do you even know who this is? Have you researched who that is? Because it's not who you think it is if you research it.
Exactly. They don't have a clue. If the race didn't matter, then he wouldn't be white. Because if he did exist, he would have been a person of color. The reason why he was white is because white people understood the power of subliminal thinking and
Mhm.
messaging. And the
Right.
more you see it, just like our friend who I'm trying to get on the show, Jeremiah Camaro says in his book, in one of his videos, and I quote him in my book, Jesus is white because he's white in Walmart. And so when he said that, I had to think for a minute. And when we had a conversation over lunch, he told me again, he said it. And I said, oh, I get it. Because it's every picture you see of Jesus is white. So
Mhm.
we think that he's white. So he becomes white.
I think that
That's
was
reality.
in higher high was in Holy Hierarchy. He said
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think
I
yeah, it
believe
could have
that
been.
was
Yeah.
it. Which is available on Amazon if you want to watch it.
Yeah,
Watch that.
absolutely. You gotta watch it.
And
Yep.
Holy Lockdown. No, contradiction. I got a
Contradiction.
cricket
Contradiction.
tool in my hand. Contradiction.
Yeah. So he talks about it. So it is important.
And, and
Um,
and that's when it comes to like the whole free will. I think because it's been programmed in our mind that to look at this savior as being white, And when we look at our plight of our people here on in this country as well as worldwide, they needed something like a big brother, a surveillance camera before the technology was there, so that when you wanted to rebel or do what you knew what was right, like this system that I'm in is not right, I need to rebel and have an insurrection against it. In your mind you have that surveillance camera, you have that big brother right there, and that's where this God, this free will thing, if you do this you can do it, but I'll punish you, God's going to get you, don't burn the plantation, don't do this. I think that's how that all plays into effect, because once you let that go, and like, you know what, nothing's going to happen to me. However many beats my heart have left, that's how long I'm going to be here.
That's it.
And that's it. There's nothing that's going to change it.
Yep.
You know? So I'm going to do what I can while I'm here.
Yep. So Christina said, who decides when you become a person? I think it starts at conception. And that the first part of your question, Christine, is the whole genesis of everything. Who decides? You should decide. Everyone should have the freedom to decide. That's real free of having free will or whatever. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. My thing is I shouldn't be able to legislate what a woman does with her body. That's how I see it. And you should be able to free. If you believe it starts at conception, then it starts at conception. No argument from me. Let's see. Sharon said, Mama said next. Okay, Christina. Again, let's see the two main tools of RWS. What's RWS?
Racism, white supremacy.
Oh, okay. Racism, white supremacy. So deception. Number one is deception. Two is violence. And these are the same tools religion use. The greatest religion on planet Earth is racism, white supremacy. Christine, I know if you've heard me say this
before.
Yeah, if you've heard me say this before, and I also wrote this in the book too. Westernized Christianity is the religious arm of white supremacy. Westernized Christianity is the religious arm of white supremacy. So white supremacy in this country uses religion as a tool, and they use it extremely well, and we fall for it. And I said it to say I 100% agree with you on that statement. But this is something that I've been saying for a very, very, very long time. That again, Westernized Christianity is the religious arm of white supremacy, and we all should keep that in mind. We need to remember that, and that is reason 1,000,006 as to why we should not be part of practicing this religion again. And we'll get to, because we need to wrap up. Mister, let's come in and say, y'all keep pushing on this skeptical criticism. I gotta go buy gorgeous tea. Okay. Y'all keep pushing on this skeptical criticism. I think on this platform, we're open to everything from I have questions about my faith to I'm a full-fledged atheist, and we just have a discussion.
It makes you think.
It makes you think.
Yeah.
The purpose of this platform is to have people think. Number one is to present a platform where we can all come together and feel comfortable expressing our doubts or our conclusions or whatever we feel, whatever we believe, without being criticized for not being a believer. If you're African American, you got to believe in God. You got to be saved. You got to be. No, that's not.
It's like a checklist. You have to do
exactly.
You have to do that. You have to eat.
Not only is it a checklist, it is at the top of the checklist. I have almost every black woman that I hear, you ask them, well, what type of man you looking for? It's got to be a godly man. It's got to be a godly man.
Define that.
First of all, how many godly men have just ran over you, misused you, abused you? Probably every man you had claimed that he was a godly man. I told this young lady who went to a church a long time ago, well, not a long time, a few years ago with me. She was a young girl, out of school, had her own dental practice in Atlanta. She was, it's hard to find somebody to date. And I, like everybody else, asked that question. We were in church. I asked that question. Well, what kind of man are you looking for? Well, I know I want a godly man, a man in church. I said, stop. And we actually had this conversation in church. I said, stop. I said, you need to forget the whole God. Just find a man that's going to treat you well. That man might not be a godly man.
Look at his actions. That's
exactly.
The thing, we can believe whatever we want to believe. And, the most kindest thing and the thing that just warmed my heart was when, my sweetheart, when we had that conversation, I'm like, I'm not a member of a church. I'm not looking to join. I don't have a religion. But he came back and said some of the kindest people that he knew do not have a religion. And so I was like, I don't have to be threatened to burn in hell to be a good person. And
Absolutely.
and you have a mutual understanding, but most importantly, a respect, and you can get along and get into a relationship with just anyone, as long as you have a mutual respect, and they show through their actions that they have morals and principles and integrity.
Yep. And look at y'all now.
Right.
No, so you guys are doing wonderful. Yeah. So if you need a book to tell you how to treat other people, then I'm really worried about you.
Right.
I'm really afraid of you. I don't need a book to tell me how to treat someone. It's called humanity. It's called looking at another person who's a person just like you and not wanting that person to suffer or not wanting to inflict harm on that person.
Even like things like non-humans, like animals or the environment. If you're walking around your neighborhood and see a piece of garbage, you pick it up.
Pick it up.
Do something as simple as take the shopping cart and put it in the corral. You know what I'm saying?
God.
Just
Don't get me started.
stuff.
Yeah.
Simple stuff.
Yeah. I don't need a book to tell me that. I don't need a book to, if I see an animal suffering and hungry or need water, do I need a book to tell me to give that dog or whatever it is water? No. You shouldn't. If you do, then something's wrong with you. Something is wrong with you if you need a book or a faith or religion to tell you how to be nice and how to be empathetic and sympathetic to other creatures, to other living beings. Something is wrong with you. So let's get these last questions out, these last comments out of the way so we can wrap this up.
Great topic.
Did we do the good to have you. Glad you're here. Facts overcome belief, and the word belief has the word lie in it. If you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't have to use the word believe or belief. You don't get up in the morning and
feelings don't change facts.
Exactly. You don't get up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I believe I'm a man or I believe I'm a woman. You don't, because you know that you are. You've never done that, right? Because you know. So that's a point. Absolutely. Let's see, Christine. It seems to me that the most religious teach you not to. I lost my comment. Oh, it seems that the most religious teach you not to think or ask questions, but just blindly follow. Well, that's the whole premise. I mean,
that's the reason why, at the conclusion of church, they don't have a Q&A. It's okay. You go now, but if you go to any other conference or have a class, any questions, any feedback, there's no Q&A that's like, hold on, can I question this? No, there's no time for that.
Because they understand that if you start to think, you will no longer be there. If you start to think on your own, you will no longer be there. So they tell you what to think, and they tell you how to think, and they tell you what you should believe and what you shouldn't believe. And most of us, that's why people in the church are called sheep. Sheep are the dumbest creatures on the planet. That's why they call you sheep. Because you don't ask questions, you don't think for yourself. You just fall in line to do whatever the person in front of you does.
And that's at these real toxic, churches that prey on that. It's the criminal ones.
Absolutely. Sharon again said people won't believe in things that they can actually see, but they will go in with both feet and feelings on the sleeve about religion. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, religion would tell you not to believe what you see or believe what you hear or believe what you read or believe what you think. And people would ask questions about everything else except religion. And it's sad. Star Seller, glad to have you. I don't know if this is your first time, but glad that you're here. Right. I told my aunt I don't believe in God, but I'm not killing nobody, molesting nobody, raping, robbing, or cheating. I'm nice and help others when I can. I'm not saying this is your aunt, but there are religious people in our community that would rather you be a murderer, even a molester, as opposed to being a non-believer.
Yes, absolutely.
I am telling you that is fact. I've seen that. I've seen that.
I've lived it.
I'm about to say it happened to me.
I've lived it.
The worst thing that you can be in our community is a non-believer. And I'm saying non-believer because the word is because the word atheist will almost get you killed in our community. So you can't even say that word. You have to soften it to say,
Mhm.
well, I'm a non-believer, or I'm skeptic, or I'm questioning my faith.
Mhm.
They would defend their son or their child or whatever who's a murderer first before they defend that child or that son that's a non-believer. Once
It's
you
a
become a
family.
non-believer in the Black community, it's a wrap for you. You
Mhm.
completely gone. You gone. You've done the worst, the most unforgivable sin. You've sinned against God. You're a non-believer. We
Yep.
can't help you. But if you go down the street and kill this lady, I'll put my house up, for you
Mhm.
to get you out, and we'll do all of this stuff. We'll get you the best attorneys.
Sell fish dinners.
Exactly. We'll have car wash, all of that.
Your
But don't you be
obituary will
don't you
make
be
you
a
an angel.
non-believer. Yeah. And in your obituary, the first thing we'll say in your obituary is that, oh, you was a man of God. He loved God.
Serve God
That's
with
the
all his
first
heart.
thing
Found
they'll
God at an
say.
early age.
But you killed 16 people. You sold drugs in the community.
And one of them was your mama.
Exactly. But you was a man of God. He loved himself some God. But if you're not a believer, then they can't say that about you. So
Mhm.
they won't, that it's sad, but that's true. So let's keep going before we keep going. Let's see. Papa Soul Searcher, what's going on? Glad to have you. Women want godly men because they think he will fear cheating on her. Let me tell you something.
They don't read them stories about the 5, 6, 7 wives and all that. So
Every dude I know, almost every dude I know that went to church cheated on his wife. Damn near everyone. Like, no, let me say this. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say this. All the dudes that I know that cheat, damn near all of them go to church. All the dudes I know that's cheated and have known that's cheated on their wife or girlfriend or significant other, whatever, have been believers in God. Every freaking single one. And the ones who I know now that are like non-believers or atheists, I don't think they cheat on their wives. I'm not saying, I mean, I got some that do go to church and believe in God that don't cheat on their wives. But what I'm telling you that everyone that I know that has cheated on their wives believe in God and go to church.
you know what? They had a cheaters marathon on the other day. I'm gonna try to find that. And cheaters ran up on this chick who was cheating on this dude. They were coming out of the church. Coming out of the church cheating. I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
find that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just
Oh
watched it
yeah.
the other day.
Oh yeah. So then let's see. We almost done. Let's see. Who's the last one? Sharon said these people where I live are supposed to be so religious and putting flyers on doors, but care for the animals and not actual people. Yeah, that's I see that too. I understand that. Christine, a thinking person is the most dangerous person in religion. That is 100% true. That's why they want you to think. That is the absolute truth. If you think, I mean, they're even. I got some memes that I've taken off social media. Taisha has sent me some. I got some memes and billboards from churches that literally said that, like, you can't think or don't think. And I'm gonna find them. And the next time we're on, I'm gonna try to bring some of them. But
One
you're
of my
absolutely right.
favorite movies is They Live. Of course, I based my short film off that. I did a play on the word Stay Evil, but They Live. It starts out with the preacher in the park. He's getting arrested, and then how they hid in the church. And I was like, where did this song come from? But they live. Pop culture classic. Check it out.
Yeah, Papa Soul Surgeon said they think the fear of God will keep them faithful. Well, they must be living
That
on a
monkey off
rock
the back.
because how many preachers do we know that have cheated on their wives? So now you got your boy John Gray, who is now recovered from
Mhm.
almost dying, who's in church now. This past week said he's a changed man. So it took you almost dying for you, but trust me, give it 6, 7 months, and you'll hear another story of him stepping out and cheating on his wife again. So you'll see that again. So it doesn't change. Papa Soul Search said, or y'all can pray together for you to do right. They do that too. They do that every time. There's a movie that my wife hates, and it's one of these church movies, and in the movie it's one of these B movies. You know, it's one of these religious movies where the husband is out doing all the kind of things. He's in running the streets. He's cheating on his wife, and they're in the church. And the woman is told by an older woman that don't leave him, don't get divorced because God don't want you to leave him. You just let that man do what he does, and God will deal with him. And you go to your. It's called something like prayer closet. So we watching the movie. And this lady and this old lady tells the young lady, don't leave him. You know, I know he's cheating on you, but don't leave him because God wants you to be there. You know, God is going to fix that. You just go to your prayer closet and just pray that man get right. At that moment in the movie, my wife lost it. She started screaming and yelling at the TV, and she was just going off because the lady's telling her, let that man continue to cheat with you. You just go to your prayer closet. It was just, my wife was going off. I was like, so yeah, none of that stuff. It's just, it is all this stuff is man-made. And when I say man-made, I'm talking about the male gender so that they benefit from it. You know, the whole thing about don't leave, it ain't got nothing to do with men because men back then could have as many wives as they want to. It was all about them being in control of the women that they had and the women not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And we in 2,000 years today later, our women are still falling for this BS.
Right.
Falling for this BS. If your man is cheating on you, abusing you, why the hell wouldn't God want you to leave?
I gotta find this movie. I had to find that movie.
I'm gonna get you the title. I gotta ask my wife what's the name of it again, but it was something about prayer closet or whatever. It's one of those quirky that you see those movies that they make. You know, God at the end of the day, God comes in, and at the end of the day, He gets right and gets saved or whatever. It's bull crap. But I'm gonna find the movie and find the name of the movie. I'm gonna have to ask my wife. Let me see. We almost done. Let's see. Godly means most miseducated trash by his religious teachings. I'm with you on that. They're usually cheating with other women in the church. Yeah, that's a point too. And let's see, where we at? Taisha said couples who pray together still break up more so than couples who don't pray together. Right. Religious couples, Christian couples break up more so than any other type of couple. So it don't matter. Papa Soul, I saw the movie, shaking my head. What is it?
An attempt.
An attempt to keep a black woman in church. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, bro. Because without the black woman in church, the church will be completely done. Because black men already don't go. Well, we don't go. I mean, we go. The black men that go to church are, number one, black men that think they got a little power, which would be the preachers and the deacons. Number two would be men who are married and they tired of arguing with their wife about not going. So they go. I'll go. All right, I'll go. All right. And number three are the brothers in there that's single that's trying to find a wife. So they like parking lot pimping, church pimping. So they going looking for the women. You know, those are the dudes. And then the gay guys. Those are the guys who are in church. I am telling you, those are the guys, because most guys, they can do without church, especially during football season. I'm just,
and it's coming up too.
Maybe they just
right
talking, right? But trust me.
The Super Bowl has now made its way into the church. That's one of the things I mentioned, like this Super Bowl or stuff like that.
So if you notice, the church is 2/3 women and children, because that's all they really need. That's all they really need. You know, because guys can see through the pastors. They know this is BS. And so the pastors, without the men, the pastors can control the women a whole lot better. And in my book, I talk about relationships and how churches messed up our relationships, because women go to church without the husbands, and then they come back home and tell the husband what pastor said. And no man want to hear what another man is telling the wife about what's going on in his house. You don't come to my house and tell me what another man said I should be doing in my house. And that's caused a whole lot of issues in our relationships. She go to church, the pastor know what he's doing. He's coming between that relationship.
So unseasoned is forward.
Exactly. So you come home and you said to your man, what pastor said, the minute you said what pastor said, that man is shut down and then he's ready for an argument. You don't do that. But that's go pick up my book. It's in there.
I'll get it.
And we talk about it. And we'll get to the end real quick. So 2 more, and then that's it. We got to cut it off. Sharon said, Willie, let me know how your first week in school goes. I will. I definitely will. Before that, Christina said that They Lives is a great movie to dedicate CRWS book club review in a few months. I'm sorry, I missed that. What is that?
They Live, the movie I was just talking
Oh, the
about.
movie that you're
It's a
talking
great
about?
movie to decode. What is it? What is it? Counter
Was it
racist.
CR?
I forgot what the
Oh,
channel acronym is, but I know what you talk about. I will definitely try to find out if they did a video. If not, send it to me. But yeah, that's what's
okay.
up.
Well, let's do that. That sounds great. Awesome. Okay. And then the last one, Christine said, teach. Okay. Black women are the church. If they go to the church, it is a rap. Yeah. If they don't go to church, it's a rap. It's over. Gay males can't hold it up. No, they can't. Not with that y'all, because no, they can't. But that is it, guys. This has been awesome. We went. Did we go a little over? It's just a few minutes over. But hopefully we all got something out of this. I did. I learned a lot of good questions, a lot of good comments. Gave us a chance to express ourselves. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the comments. I try to get to all the comments because I want this to be interactive as possible.
This is great.
We can't have everybody talk at the same time, but we can read the comments and make comments and let everybody know what other people are thinking because we all get something from it. Again, this platform is for all of us, and we can grow, we can learn, we can express ourselves without being ostracized for either questioning our faith or not believing anymore at all, leaving, deconverting, whatever the terminology that you want to use. Let's keep this going. I ask that you tell people about this channel, have them come to this channel. Those of you who joined late, I want to let you know that this is going to go to a every other week. So we'll miss next week because I am in school. So we talked about that last week, but I am in school, and so next week, the first week of school, and I kind of want to see how that goes. And so we won't meet. We won't be here next Wednesday. We'll be here the following Wednesday, and we'll try to do it every other Wednesday after that. And then I also mentioned that this may go back an hour instead of 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We may have to do this at 6 o'clock. Depending on what I have to do, because not only am I in school taking classes, I will also be a research assistant to a couple of professors. So depending on what they need me to do, I'm sure I'll be through before 6, but we just want to make sure. So look for the new time. If we do have to change the time, if we can keep it at 5, we'll keep it at 5, but we may have to do 6. So I think that's a lot. If I don't do this, Taisha will be getting on my case. You can pick up my book, From Saved to Sane, My Journey Away from Christianity and Why Christianity Has Been Detrimental to the African American Community. It is available, Willie O. Cartwright, on Amazon. You can pick it. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. If you see it on Amazon, pick it up. If you want to get it directly from me and I'll sign it for you, my Cash App is Willie Cartwright 1906. $19.99. Send it to me and your address, and we'll get you a signed copy out to you. But thank you all. Taisha, you got anything?
That is all. Happy to be here tonight. Definitely learned something, and it's great to be around like minds to bounce those ideas off and not feel intimidated. Like, can I talk about this safely without repercussions? So, it's been great, and definitely looking forward to the next broadcast.
So I am happy that Taisha, y'all listen. I'm saying this quietly. We're happy that Taisha joined us. I should have stopped this about 15 minutes ago so Taisha can go get some rest because the baby is making her want to go to sleep. I can tell. So, but we are so thankful that she joined us because she adds so much to this. So again, thank
Thank you.
all of you. Let's see, family, y'all be safe. Yes, absolutely. You guys be safe. Sharon, I will tell my wife hello. I will do that. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining. I am so grateful to have you guys here. And see you in a couple of weeks.
See ya.
That is it. Let me sign off. That is it.